Go through a presentation that I actually done yesterday for a corporate event, and I wanted to share it on social media because I think the content in it, sometimes we get kind of overwhelmed with what we need to do in order to move forward with our health, and we get driven into this path. And I've seen it time after time again that we are not actually high performers. We push with this hustle mentality, wanting to just fit into all the things that are sexy to shout about on social media. But as a result, we do not become that high performer that we say we want to be doing. And do we really need to be hustling in order to become that high performer? And that's what I want to look into with regard to the presentation today. So we have turning high achiever into high performer. I want to go through who I am because I talk about health a lot on social media and on YouTube and all these different areas. But I'm Ollie Matthews. I'm a nutrition therapist, a functional medicine practitioner, and I've been in the industry as a personal trainer for around 20 years. I stopped personal training specifically around 2014-15 when I went and started working with a lot of professional athletes, celebrities, and people on deeper health, and then retrained and looked at nutrition therapy and functional medicine around 2016-17. And I was this overweight guy that I was a DJ producer, went through music college, competitive bodybuilder, and then I turned healthy. There's a picture of me as a youngster with chubby cheeks in a DJ booth. I wrote a book. In fact, I actually then repurposed the book for a second book for a male and female version of the One Day Body Upgrade, which is about improving your health one single day at a time. It's not about actually. Sorry, just moving the picture around. Nope. There we go. It's about improving your health one day at a time, not about smashing it and improving your body in one day, where a lot of people try and do so much. This is about, if we can do one day, we can do two, we can do three, and we can do four, and we can move our health forward that way. And as I said, I worked with professional endurance athletes and celebrities, and it was all great, but especially with those pro athletes, they were looking at getting A to B as fast as possible without this focus directly on actual health. It was performance, pay the bills with this result, then we'll look at health and burning out. And I just didn't resonate with that. And I worked with this guy called Rick Barker, and Rick messaged me. He messaged me a few years back and said, "Look, Ollie, I know what to do. I need you to tell me to do it." He's sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I said, "Okay, Rick, we need to get on a call. I'm actually free in a couple of hours. I've just had a cancellation. Yep, I'm about then." Got on this call. I'd Googled him and thought, why is Taylor Swift's manager, previous manager, messaging me for health? And he'd been referred by a couple of people that were clients of mine and messaged me. Well, 3 months later, I got to his house. I got to Rick's house in Nashville. We were recording a musician's health course. Now, this course, we were looking at health of musicians, how they're going on tour, and how the lifestyle, stress causes circadian rhythm issues, and so on. And we went into his kitchen. His wife was there, son was there, daughter was there. And he said, "Ollie, look, you've given my wife back what she married 10 years ago." And that was truly, truly, truly powerful because his kids were standing there, and stress can kill. I know that full well because my dad passed away when I was 15. And he was the guy that was working to move his health forward. He was the guy that was pushing to provide for his family. He was working on caravan parks. He was pushing sales. He was then running the caravan parks. And it was just stressful. But he used to suffer from migraines. And that then, it's a sign that your body's stressed. Well, he went into hospital with a migraine on the Monday and passed away with a stroke, had a stroke on the Saturday night. We had to turn off his life support machine. And I look back at the work I'd done with Rick, and that I couldn't help my dad because I didn't have the knowledge that I have now. but I can do every single thing I can to stop parents dying before seeing their children get old. And that was super, super powerful. It's the reason I do what I do now. And we see so many signs that your health is suboptimal. We see it all the time. And these are the signs that I see and I deal with within my clinic time after time again. Things like problems with your sleep. You're waking up during the night. You're not able to get to sleep first thing in when you actually your head hits the pillow. You're wired. Your thoughts are racing. You wake up in the morning and you need caffeine to function, those sorts of things. You get brain fog and you keep on forgetting things. You keep on ending up that you are forgetting what you are doing and you wonder why you went into that room. You go upstairs, you're thinking, where's my phone? It's in your hand. Where's my sunglasses? They're on your head. Where are my keys? They're actually in your pocket. Or you even get upstairs, you go to that room and you wonder, why on earth did I come in here in the first place? Then we have things such as low energy and motivation. And I see this a lot that people start things very, very quickly. It comes to motivation. They're great to kickstart their fitness world, their fitness journey, their health journey. But how do we be consistent and sustainable? Their health isn't in the right position. So they end up losing that motivation. They have low energy and they're not able to continue. We deal with a lot of weight gain clients that they're not able to lose weight. They're trying everything. They've been on diet after diet after diet, and they're not able to lose weight, especially around their midsection. People that have cold hands and feet. And I always talk about cold hands and feet. They're at the extremes of your body. They're at the extremities, your hands, your feet. They're at the sides of your body. They're at the bottom of your body. And they've got gravity working for them. So if you've got cold hands and feet, it's a sign that circulation is not working on your side. And if that's the case, then we're also not getting good brain flow, blood flow to our brain. So clearance of waste and delivery of nutrients is very, very minimized. Low sex drive and things like low libido, low sex drive, whether you are not able to get lubricated enough when it comes to having sex or it's painful, all these things are signs that potentially there's some hormonal issues going on and your health is not where it needs to be to truly thrive and be that high performer and power up. Being irritable, coming home and being irritable, whether it's you haven't eaten, you're hungry, these sorts of things, you're just very reactive to the people around you. Maybe it's that you can't swallow supplements or you can't eat in the morning. And so you skip breakfast because that's just the normal thing to do, intermittent fasting being a big thing. They're usually signs that your vagus nerve has issues, and we can go into that in the future. Things like bloating. If you're randomly getting bloated after food, now, many, many times I've seen people that are influencers, and I use that word with frustration. I see influencers that are saying, it's normal to get bloated. It's not normal for foods to bloat you. Definitely not normal. It's a sign that your body is not reacting effectively to that food, and chances are it's causing inflammation and water retention. It's a reaction. Now, I see so many times with these influencers, and I think it may be that they don't want to cut the foods out. They want to push and say that you can eat anything you want. If you truly want to be healthy, we have to look at nutrition as an individual basis. And if a food is bloating you, don't have that food. Even if it's the nicest food in the world and you really want to have it, do you love yourself enough not to have that food? Or are you constantly going to put that in there? It's a question to ask. With women having irregular or heavy periods and getting signs of low iron and anemia, it's very, very much a big sign that your health is not optimal. Anxiety, low moods, depression. A big one we have is acid reflux. And I see so many clients that come to me, I'm getting acid reflux, Ollie. What do I need to do? A doctor's prescribed me lansoprazole. Well, actually, when we look at acid reflux, 99 times out of 100, that acid reflux is because of low stomach acid. So we're not digesting the food. We have a doorway essentially to our stomach, our esophageal sphincter through the esophagus in our throat, and that becomes inflamed. Now, the food that you have, the proteins, the food putrefies, it goes rancid, it goes raw and starts producing gas. Now, because we've got low stomach acid, because of stresses, because of toxins, because of whatever it is. Now, when we then have lansoprazole, that is for lowering stomach acid. because people think it's high, when actually in reality, the minimum stomach acid we've got is now gone. But as a result, we have the lansoprazole, we don't have the symptoms of that reflux. So people think it's fixed. However, we're then not digesting the food effectively because we've basically got zero stomach acid. So people think, great, it's been fixed. But then further down the line, we see hormonal issues and other issues because you're not getting the nutrients from your food. So it's one of these things that, hands up, I put this yesterday in the conversation, and pretty much every single person in the room has some of those symptoms. And it might seem very much like, oh yeah, Ollie, but you listed so many, because there are so many signs that your body speaks to you. Your body tells you if it is optimal or suboptimal when it comes to your health. And what is very, very hard is that I'm in my 30s, and when I was in my 20s, I was competing in bodybuilding and all the stressful stuff, going through different things when it comes to work and building my business. But it was hard in my 20s to justify doing things then, which is going to improve my health in my 30s. But now I'm in my 30s, it's hard. It's not as hard, but we have to look for our health in our 40s and 50s. It's hard when you're a decade before, but my goal is to, being 37 and 38 this year, is that when I get to 40, I want to be in better shape than when I turned 30. And I know that is going to happen. I'm not going to be as stressed. That's for certain. I always say as well, working with so many entrepreneurs, and I coined this phrase with a client of mine called Stephen Kuhn, who was Andrea Bocelli's close security, Olivia Newton-John's close security, a really great individual with a lot of knowledge around health already. But I worked with him for a few years, and we were doing a live at an entrepreneurs event on an island. It was absolutely amazing place. And we're just talking around, and we say, your body is your business. Without a sustainable body, you haven't got a sustainable or scalable business. So we really have to work on those foundations. It's great to push. It's great to be driven. It's great to have that grind, that hustle, until it's not. And then we get sick. And I work with a lot of corporate clients to help their employees not go off sick, because it's all great having this health insurance, but by the time someone needs their Vitality or Aviva insurance, whatever it is, they're off sick. So we have to then replace their job. We have to then replace their workload. Then what happens to the substitute workload? We have to replace that, and so on and so on and so on. So if we focus on the foundations, if we stop doing this sexy stuff, I look on a model of, there's 3 levels with our health. The first will get you around 80% of your results. Most of the time, that's all people need. And that is the foundations. Work on good sleep, work on good nutrition, work on good movement. And then we could add breathing in there as well. But I would say that those 3 things are the foundations that I work on with people. And if you can sleep through the night, if you can get good protein levels, which helps stabilize your glucose levels, and your movement is pretty good throughout the day, you're going to get ahead. And these are the things that are not sexy to talk about on social media. They're the things like just being consistent time after time after time. Again, doing the boring stuff over and over and over again. They're the things that get the results. Then there's another level, which gets around 10 to 15% of the results. It might be doing a little intermittent fasting, sticking some high intensity interval work in there, following a specific diet to a degree. They're the things that get the results. But again, they might be a little bit better to shout about on social media. But with those 2 levels, you'll get 80 to 95% of the results. Now, there's the 5%. And this is what we coined the sexy stuff. This is the stuff that people shout about all the time. This is the ice baths. This is the carnivore, the vegan. This is the long fasts that people do, 72-hour fasts. And yes, I've done them. Do we need to do them? We shouldn't need to do them over and over again if our health is in a good place. This is the extreme stuff that people do, that people like to shout about on social media because of the dopamine release that gets the results. It's the 75 hards that people talk about. This is the stuff that, do we need to do it? Most people really don't. They don't need to do it. So it's something which we have to really, really look at. Do those foundations, get good sleep, get good nutrition, get good movement. But the biggest thing, that I deal with people, that I truly feel gets people ahead and gets them powered up, is sleep, improving their sleep problems. In fact, I joke about, for the last 20 years, I've been putting people to sleep all around the world. Hopefully not boring you with this. And we have to recognize as well is that just because something is common does not make it normal. Waking up through the night is common, probably the most common thing we deal with people, especially as guys get older. Waking up to go to the toilet just because it's common does not make it normal. Waking up 3, 4, 5 times during the night does not make it normal. Needing a sleep apnea mask, which is becoming so common nowadays, does not make it normal. The fact that you get an afternoon energy dips and 10 people in your office are getting afternoon energy dips, needing the caffeine, does not make it normal. Just because something is common does not make it normal. And we have to recognize that if we truly want to get ahead with our health, because we have to look at our health as an individual basis. And that's why I test with clients, going through blood tests, nutrient deficiency tests, hormone tests, all these levels to see where you are as an individual, to allow you to get ahead with your health. And one thing that I look to work on with people is how many people would drive to work under the influence of alcohol? And a question I ask is how many people would drive their kids to school under the influence of alcohol? Hopefully, the answer is 0. But 31% of people suffer from insomnia. A study from Aviva said about this. 67% of people suffer from disrupted sleep. And 23% of people regularly get no more than 5 hours of sleep per night, which is all well and good because we're in this hustle mode, right? And we can get by on 5 hours and we can go to bed at midnight and be part of the 5 a.m. club. However, even moderate sleep deprivation can result in the same cognitive impairments as drinking alcohol. Now, what is sleep deprivation? Actually, they say it's less than 7 hours a night regularly is sleep deprivation. Most people in this world, in the Western world, are sleep deprived. But why do we need sleep? Because you feel all right when you had 5 hours of sleep, dosed up on caffeine and running off of adrenaline. And then you start going for 7, 8, 9 months, right until you're about to burn out, have a holiday for a week, recharge, get sick on that holiday, but then come back feeling ready to go and do it all again. How long can that cycle repeat as you get older and your body starts to feel stress? Because when we feel stress, our body starts to get a kind of banked memory of that. So then it boosts the stress quicker and quicker and quicker. And we need to do more to recharge and regenerate it. Why do we need sleep? The first thing is to regenerate our cells from the stress that gets thrown at them every single day, every single minute of every single day. We need that to improve our cellular health. And our health, our body is made up of so many cells. It is from cells that we start to live. We need to clear out waste and to detoxify. If we're not getting good sleep, you're not going to be able to detoxify. No matter how many juice diets people have sold you, you are not going to be able to detoxify effectively. Side note, you do not need to have those juice diets to detoxify. You're not going to be able to form that long-term memory. You see people with not being able to remember what they've done at the weekend and it's Monday morning, and chances are they're not getting good sleep. Now, I do need to recognize that I work with a lot of parents with multiple children. If you are having your children wake you up multiple times through the night, we do our best. And it's setting yourself up for success, trying to actually get to bed and within 8 hours of your wake up time. So you are still in bed for that time. Even if you've been waking up or having to get up to take your kids to the toilet or they're coming into the room, these are the things that if we set ourselves up for success, if you are only going to sleep in the bedroom for 5 hours, you're not setting yourself up for success. So it's trying to do your best. That's all we can do. We need to look to sleep because when we regenerate our cells, when we clear out waste and detoxification happens, we can get better hormonal balance. We need sleep to recharge our battery too. And we need sleep to power up. How can we be at full power at full effectiveness, at full performance, if we are only recharging to 60% all the time. If we're recharging to 60% and we're taking 70% out every day, we are going to eventually end up at zero. Without good sleep, you are leaving performance on the table. There's no doubt about it. Now, would you leave your phone on no charge? Because I really wouldn't. And if I went to leave the house with my phone on 20% in the morning, I would get a little bit worried throughout the day if I had no way to charge it. It's my main form of communication. It's got my cards on there. It's got basically so many things on there that I need throughout the day. In fact, when some people send a screenshot and it's on 6% battery, I end up getting a little bit worried and think, what a psychopath. So are you leaving your body on no charge? Why do we wake up at 20% battery, body battery? I use a thing called a Garmin, and my Garmin watch tells me a body battery score every single morning out of 100. It takes into different stress markers, your resting heart rate, your sleep effectiveness and different depths of sleep, your heart rate variability and previous stresses from the day before. And it gives you a marker out of 100. And through the day, that goes down. Now, if you are starting off at 20%, you're very quickly going to get to zero. Then what do? You become reactive. You start forgetting things. You're not performing in your job. You're not as powered up as you could be. So we need to make sure that we are charging up, because if we don't and we get home after a day at work, it's all well and good because you may have got through the day based on adrenaline. And then you get through some emails sitting outside. And then when you come in, your dogs greet you, your kids greet you, your wife, your husband, your partner greets you. And you become reactive. You become very reactive and you start reacting to those people. And it's not their fault. It's your fault. It's my fault if I come home with no charge because I haven't charged up, and I become reactive and it becomes stressful for those people around. So would you leave your body on no charge? Because so many people would treat their phone better than their body. But what causes stress? Sounds pretty obvious, and I don't want to teach you to suck eggs because we know if we're stressed. Well, there are three main things. Physical stress. So this is your exercise levels. And I see people smashing it in the gym. They're smashing it in the gym. They're going for PBs and annihilating themselves. They're doing hard classes. They're smashing it with spin classes, doing these body pump classes that are going to really, really get them sweating. And they really feel they've worked hard. But that's stress. Then we have nutrient deficiencies. They're not eating a good nutrient rich diet. They're not having very good levels of fiber. Then we have sleep deprivation, not getting good restorative levels of sleep. We have emotional stress. So things from your relationships, your finances, your family, your community, the things we see in the news. We look at environmental stress, and this is the big one because so many people glance over this. They gloss over the environmental stress. And those are things like your air quality, your toxins that are coming into your body, mold, BPAs and plastics that we drink and eat out of and that we're exposed to left, right, and center. Things like fluoride in your toothpaste and in water, fumes that we get exposed to. Even here where I live in Norfolk, we have a high level of a farming community. We are very much a countryside-based county. But we still have poor air quality because of the toxins and everything that is used in the city of Norwich where I live, and also like around the county as well. And we need to look at those. There's also there's different levels of stress, and we look at the physical, emotional, and environmental, but we also have actual stress. So things that have actually happened. We have expected stress, and these are things that things always happen in freeze, or I'm expecting, that's happened, that thing always happens to me, and things that we expect to happen. Maybe it's that you get stressed public speaking or anything like that. But we also have a trigger warning here with imagined stress. Now this stress, imagined stress, is stuff that we think is going to happen, and we imagine it's going to happen. It may not happen. All my clients are going to leave me tomorrow, or these sorts of things. Or there's going to be, like, when people lived during the war, that was a very real threat of a bomb landing on their house. There's a very limited threat of a bomb landing on a house now. Back in Paleolithic days, there was a very real threat of having a tiger be behind you, or a lion, or these sorts of things. But there's a very limited threat. But in our minds, if we think it's going to happen, our brain cannot tell the difference. Our adrenals don't tell the difference. So we get our hypothalamus send a signal to our pituitary to send a signal to our adrenals to release a stress hormone called cortisol. And that is very, very imagined. So how can we bring ourselves back into the present and improve our stress management? Well, the thing that we need to look at is this vicious circle, is that people will skip sleep to do work which stresses them out. Then low sleep increases stress. We mask it with caffeine, which causes more stress, and deal with the being wired with alcohol to numb us and get us to sleep, causing more stress and worse sleep. But how are we going to perform? How are we going to power up? How are we going to hit targets? How are we going to be a leader in our business? And then go home and be a loving partner, a parent or friend, if we aren't getting good sleep? We really need to recognize this. We really need to push forward. And if we can learn to love ourselves, being a Christian and reading the Bible, there's a part in the Bible that is like, love your neighbor like yourself. And it's very much that, how can we love our neighbor if we don't love ourselves? Most people will find it easy to love their neighbor, but not themselves. That was an eye opener for me, a big eye opener. But how do we improve sleep? And as a result, if we improve sleep, how do we power up? Well, we have to prioritize it. There's no point thinking you're going to get 8 hours sleep, going to bed at 10 p.m., waking up at 6 a.m. That's one way to start thinking you're going to get 8 hours. You're going to get 8 hours bedtime, because you might end up that takes you 15, 20, 30 minutes to get to sleep. So before you know it, that 10 to 6 is time you're in bed, but you're actually asleep 7.5 hours. A lot of people don't even allow themselves that 8 hours. They'll go to bed 11 o'clock at night because they're watching the latest series on Netflix, and then they wake up at 5:30, 6. So they're only just in bed for 7 hours. So then they get 6.5 hours sleep. Maybe they're waking up once during the night and they take half an hour to get up, go to the toilet, and then get back to sleep. That's then 6 hours sleep. So before you know it, that 8 hours in bed, or 7.5, 7 hours in bed, becomes 6.5, 6 hours, especially if you were waking up twice a night. We then have an hour awake, and so on. We need to prioritize it. We need to have this self-love. We need to also look at the food we're having. I see so many people in my clinic that don't have good blood glucose management. And we can do blood tests. You can get the latest Zoe if you want to spend extra money that you don't need to spend. But we can just get a 20 quid glucose monitor, see where our glucose management's at. And in order to improve that, we need to eat enough protein. The amount of people that I see that don't eat enough protein because they link it with bodybuilding, they link it with building muscle. Protein is there to help us repair tissues, to help us from the stress that gets thrown at us through the day. And another way is to manage your stress perception. Again, easier said than done. Look for practitioners. And if you need help with stress perception and you need help with the mindset side of things, yes, I've got a lot of knowledge through life coaching and through history and experience I've had in this areas. But there are professionals that do NLP or CBT that will allow you to help yourself with this stress perception. If you need help with that, drop me a message and I can recommend people. Good sleep hygiene. As I said, we need to set ourselves up to prioritize it, but be consistent with your sleep. Consistently try to sleep and wake at the same time. If you are someone that goes to sleep at 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 10:30, 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock because you're tired, and wake up at 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock, Friday, 6 o'clock, Saturday, 9 o'clock, because you're getting a bit of a lay-in because, you know, it's the weekend. Sunday, 10 a.m. because you're going to then go for brunch. That is going to essentially jet lag your body. The body clock we have, people say a day is 24 hours. On computers and everything, a day is 24 hours. But going through spinning, the earth spinning on its axis is just under 24 hours, a couple of minutes less than 24 hours. And our body clocks, in fact, male and female body clocks are slightly different. Male's body clock is slightly over 24 hours, and female can, depending on the stress levels, can be a little bit longer. So we have to absorb that. We have to absorb those 2 or 3 minutes before 24 hours and 2 or 3 minutes afterwards. And if we don't sleep and wake at the same time, our body can't absorb that effectively. So over the course of a few days, we end up getting what we call socially jet lagged. It's actually a coined phrase now, an actual term. And we need to love ourselves enough to go to sleep, not exactly the same time. We went to the theater last night. I was in bed a little bit later than normal. Every now and then, there's going to be times where you don't get to sleep at the same time. Make it the majority of the time where you get similar sleep and wake times, including the weekends. Make sure that if you are someone that doesn't have good levels of sleep, don't have caffeine within the first 90 minutes of waking. There are things called adenosine receptors in your body, and we have a thing called adenosine, which is there when we're sleepy. It has to bind to these receptors in order to be used up and allow us to be woken up. And what happens is when we have caffeine, those caffeine cells will bind to the adenosine receptors, blocking out this adenosine outside of the cells. Now, when that caffeine wears off, around 5-6 hours as a half-life, that adenosine will then take over, and then you will start feeling tired and need more caffeine, which is why that after waking a few hours later, you need your pick-me-up, and then a few hours later, you need your pick-me-up again. If we can skip caffeine for the first 90 minutes to 2 hours, chances are those adenosine receptors have had their fix of adenosine. So it's not going to be waiting around ready to be used. Another one is getting good light exposure first thing in the morning. Whether it's a sad lamp or something, if it's not that bright when you wake up, but getting outside, natural daylight, super, super powerful. It's like there's suprachiasmatic nuclear, SCN, which is basically your master clock within your brain. And when light gets exposed to your eyes, it sends a message there. And that actually allows you to basically say, look, we're ready to rock. We're ready to go. All systems go at exactly the same time. We have good nutrient diversity. So many people don't have different fiber types, different vegetables. They eat the same thing. They eat a very beige, standard American diet, SAD diet. And we need to work on your gut microbiome. We need to look at deficiencies within your nutrition in order to help you get better health. If you have better health, you're going to have better sleep. Looking at mind and breathing work, allowing your body to get good oxygen delivery, fixing signs of anemia, I look on blood tests with people, and we have to realize that when we do blood tests and you see doctors do a blood test, they have a marker which is low and a marker which is high. Those markers in Western medicine are based on the sick population. We will also have markers, like if you look at a lot of tests, they might be green and red. There's also an optimal range on functional medicine. So there will be red, yellow, and green. We want to be in the green. We don't want to be in the yellow at the opposite ends of each of the high or low. And I see so many signs of anemia that are coming up on blood tests that doctors are saying there's no signs of it. And we need to work on those because there are so many undiagnosed anemia cases, low iron and these sorts of things that we need to start fixing. Breathing work, being able to switch off. There's a thing called Yoga Nidra, which I absolutely love. There's a channel on YouTube called Ali Buford. She's got a channel where she has some Yoga Nidra, NSDR, non-sleep deep rest scripts from like 10 minutes to like 40 minutes or so. Highly recommend checking out her stuff. Then we have good movement. Don't go and do beast mode. Don't go and smash it at the gym. Don't go and do too much. And you have zone 2 cardio. You should be able to do a few sessions of cardio, half an hour, 40 minutes. So you have around 90 minutes of cardio a week where you can just hold a conversation. Don't go and smash it, especially if you're going through stress. And one thing I see so many people skimp on is doing hard resistance training, weight training, not high reps in classes where you're just like pumping a weight so much, actually doing weight training that is not necessarily bodybuilding split, but you're looking to build the muscle and help get blood flow in there. And then community. One thing I love about being part of a great church is that there's community around me, people that help build you up. They'll call you out if you're not doing the right thing, but they help build you up. If you find a positive community, that there are studies that show that 5 minutes around a negative person can shrink your hippocampus, which is the area of your brain which deals with fear. Now, if that's happening, what happens when you spend 5 hours around them? And it's not to say that you have to then go and cut all your friends off. Just be aware of this stuff. Don't go and like, there are even studies that show talking negative to a plant will stop it from growing, but being positive to it will start it growing and make it grow more. That says a lot. And then I see so much more in males actually than females, in men rather than women. And is that guys don't ask for help that much. I was part of a functional medicine community, and pretty much all the members in there, the ones getting support, learning new things, they were women asking for help in the business areas, asking for help with clients and getting great results because they're asking for help. And I see it so much more in guys is that they want to ask for help. They want to smash the weights. They want to do 5 sessions in the gym rather than the 2 they can actually do with their schedule. And as a result, they have a reason to fail and they have a reason to have an excuse because they have no time for 5 sessions. So they try and do everything and end up just going in a vicious circle of try, fall off, try, fall off. And if you stop stopping, you stop starting and you build more momentum. So ask for help and invest in yourself. Now, if you have any questions for this, I'm not going to hang around too long after this live, but wherever you're watching this, drop me a message in the comments. If it's a kind of a private question, feel free to direct message me, or you can go on my website, ojhealth.com. You can go on Ollie Matthews Health and you can look at my book, The One Day Body Upgrade, or the podcast, The Optimal Health Podcast. But I truly hope that this has been beneficial for you and you've got something out of this and you can start improving your health while